Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 111, Fruit of the Poisonous Tree. This episode aired on January 29th, 2012. It was written by Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss, and it was directed by Brian Spicer. I did tell you that we would see this pairing of writers again. They write, I think, together quite frequently in the first season. I don't know off the
Okay.
top of my head if they continue to do so after, but
Oh no, Lauren doesn't know it. A fact.
I don't pay attention to the writers as often.
I don't pay attention to writers at all.
Yeah, the writers' rooms also circulate very frequently, so. Before we get into our chatting and minor chaos, let's do a little bit of a synopsis for the episode. In the Enchanted Forest, after finding and freeing a genie, King Leopold brings him home to his castle so that he can find true love. In doing so, he introduces him to his wife, Regina, with whom the genie is immediately enamored. He sees how the king treats her and believes her to be his true love. However, they cannot be together while her marriage stands. To stop his love from freeing herself, he offers to kill the king so that they can be together. But when all is said and done, this was Regina's plan all along: to kill the king and remain blameless. When the genie refuses to leave, he makes the final wish on the lamp to never leave her side, and is turned into her magic mirror. And in Storybrooke, following the massive storm, Henry's castle is destroyed. After Regina demolishes it, Emma is determined to do whatever it takes to show the town who she really is. When Sydney, now the disgraced former editor of the newspaper, approaches her about helping, she insists on doing this by the book, but soon realizes she won't get results unless she plays a little dirty. They discover that Regina stole $50,000 of funds from the city and confront her about her plans to build a second home at a council meeting. Ultimately, their plan is thwarted when it's revealed she was building a new, safer playground. Emma gave in to the fruit of the poisonous tree, and now she has to pay for it by keeping her distance from Henry. So you told me that you took a lot of notes this time, so why don't we start with those, because I'm excited.
So I started off, I'm like, because Regina was so mad. I'm like, a storm just came through, so the castle is just now this bad.
Mm-hmm.
She is with Henry. He's not actively on anything.
Yeah.
He's not actively in danger.
No. One thing I did love about that scene was when, like, Emma rolls up to it, and Henry goes, like, she doesn't know about this place, like, or no, Emma asks, she doesn't know about this place, and he goes, no, this is our place. Literally half a second before Regina just drives right up.
Like, she have a tracker on the kid?
I mean, she knows everything.
She knows everything.
She's got eyes everywhere.
I remember texting you this one. I just wrote, I've seen too much Breaking Bad. Because
This
the
is
whole
true.
time, so Steven and I have watched almost all of Breaking Bad. We told ourselves we really wanted to, like, finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And we started it. We watched all of it until we got to, like, season 5, the last season. We watched
Mm-hmm.
the first episode, and we're just never gone back. It's been over a year. We've never finished it. And every time I'm like, we should probably finish that, all I get is, it kind of sucks. So, like, you're not wrong.
No.
It's just very repetitive. The same thing happens over and over again.
Mm-hmm. For context, because I think you just mentioned Breaking Bad and it didn't even
Oh
like
my god.
didn't even say. So we can do a little bit of our IMDb deep dive here. So Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Sidney Glass slash the genie slash the magic mirror slash I don't know what else they're gonna throw onto him. One of the roles that most people would know him by, most likely, is as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He's done a ton of stuff. Like his IMDb is actually quite large. He's done like a lot of really cool stuff too. The ones that I pulled out that I know, he did Revolution, which was a very cool sci-fi actiony show with Elizabeth Mitchell. He was in the
Nice.
Maze Runner movies. He's El Lazo in one episode of Westworld, and another one of his major roles people would probably know him from is as Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian.
Oh wow, I've not watched any of that. I think we watched the first season of Mandalorian, except for the last episode of the first season. We just stopped.
That's fair. I don't think he's in one episode of the first season of The Mandalorian. I don't remember exactly when you see his face. If anything, it might just be his voice. I don't remember. I did watch Revolution. I at least watched the first season because that came out, I want to say, while I was in high school, which sounds right. It was like a show where all of electricity just shuts down for some reason,
Oh
and
my.
then it's post-apocalyptic. It was very cool. I think it only got a couple of seasons though, maybe one or two.
I like post-apocalyptic. I do.
Yeah. But what's funny about him in Breaking Bad, because I never watched Breaking Bad, so I have no context for this. One of the reasons why I have so many scenes from the show memorized, and I was telling Katie this story the other day, on my TikTok account, I've got my series of bad impression voiceovers, where I dub myself over scenes from the show, and I did a compilation of scenes that did weirdly well. Like it was such a random mishmash of voices and scenes, and it got a couple 100,000 views, I think. But the very first scene that I use is a scene from, I want to say it's 114, where he is
Mm-hmm.
on screen, he's shown on screen, but he didn't have any lines. So I wasn't doing his voice, but the comment section was full of Gus was on Once Upon a Time. Like people kept asking this, and I had no context for this. And like I was looking at the analytics, and based off of the average view time, people are only watching the first like 4 clips. So I only had so many people to work off of. And it took me far too long to realize that was the name of his character on Breaking Bad.
The CGI of this episode.
Yeah. Also, the facial hair on his, like the facial hair on the genie was
Yeah.
not very good.
No. But when I'm thinking of the CGI, let me find this note because I have questions about this snake, specifically about its digestive system.
It's a cat dog situation.
It's a cat dog situation. I was just kind of sitting here like how does it do anything?
You know, magic. We don't think about it.
Magic.
I don't think we see the Agrabah Viper again. We do see its venom, however.
Oh.
Its venom gets used in a completely different way, in a way that makes no sense, and I'm still kind of mad about it. But we don't see the Viper itself, I think, again.
Gotcha. I don't think Sydney is being genuine. Regina has to be behind this. I made multiple notes throughout my note taking because I take notes as I watch,
Mm-hmm.
and throughout the entire time, and I think I have another one. I'm calling it Sydney is in love with Regina.
They did a very good close-up shot of her touching his knee at the end, which like made me a little bit uncomfortable.
I was like, do we have another sheriff situation going on?
Well, remember in the Desperate Souls episode, you said, "Is Regina just going to keep sleeping with the sheriff?" And my response was, "Sydney wishes."
Yeah, you did say that.
He would love that.
And so one of my last notes, of course, being, I fucking knew it. I
Mhm.
fucking called it because, as always,
Sydney Glass.
I knew. I just knew.
Well, again, like especially with the trajectory of the flashbacks, of course he's still in her pocket.
Oh, of course. Like, it was so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have our nice little snippet of Snow and Charming. And I'm like, I'd like romantic gestures like this. But also, aren't they... There's a lot of affairs going on this show.
I mean, technically, there's really only one. I really wouldn't consider Regina and the genie to be an affair.
Well, technically. Couldn't it still...
I guess it's an emotional affair, but it's also one-sided.
Well, he didn't know that.
I mean, no, he didn't know that, but
affairs are treated interestingly in this show.
Yeah.
Isn't David still with his wife?
Yeah, David's still married. They are just effectively having an affair right now. It's very cute though.
It
But again, we were talking in the last once episode about like what's considered real at this point, because like he's really technically never been married. They don't know this. We know this. But like there's always something in the way keeping them from being together truly and fully. So in this case, the relationship, all it can be, is an affair.
I found my other note about the whole Sydney and Regina situation of like them both being behind this. I didn't realize I had this note because it's a lot of notes that I'm not used to having a lot of notes.
I have to highlight mine.
Oh God, I should probably do the same. It just says, look, if I'm right, then Emma's superpower is lacking. Because he's lying to her the entire time, but she's supposed to be able to pick up on lies. So...
Well, again, what do I keep saying is it's whenever she's emotionally invested, her superpower does not work very well.
She seems emotionally invested.
Exactly. She's emotionally invested because she's doing all of this for Henry. Therefore, it clouds her judgment.
And I do have notes on Leopold.
Go Reddit. I don't. Is his name again with the characters? Is his name even mentioned in this episode? I don't know if it is.
I'm not sure.
I know I've just told you
Is
his
it?
name is Leopold.
It's got to be mentioned at least once, right?
I don't know. I didn't pay that close enough attention. I know when the line where I recognize his name is from the next episode that he's featured in. But I don't know if it's in this one. Similar with with Abigail or with Ruth, they just sometimes don't use people's names.
Just so funny in the heck, because like the way the Once Upon a Time timeline tends to work with these episodes, when he
Hmm.
just said, "Oh, he's in another episode," that explains it. They'll say it then. My note near the bottom just go, "He did,
He did. He did.
he did," and that is Once Upon a Time for you. This person's dead, but you're gonna see them again.
Well, because we're gonna go backwards in time.
There's a lot of time jumping.
Yeah, well, because it's more about what thematically makes sense to correlate with the Storybrooke situation versus showing us any form of chronological order, which is why I felt the need to suss it out for some particular reason.
So I did right. I just said, okay, Leopold, I get loving your ex and your daughter. I
Hmm.
get it. But this is so painful to watch for Regina.
Yeah.
So painful.
I wrote down, to be fair, Leopold does completely ignore Regina.
Like, how?
This is a case for me where I forget what's canon and what I come up with my friends in the fan fiction community, because
Ah.
the immediate thought that I have is not from the show, but I have to remember what I came up with and what I didn't. And to be fair, most of what I think, I have a larger rant that I can go on a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But because I don't want to take up too much of the time going through your notes, but there's just he's not in the show enough for there to be the massive spans of backstory that I have for him. But
Oh.
he's not in that much of the show. So
Okay. That's fair.
I don't have a canon explanation for you. In my head canon explanation, he's just a jackass.
I mean, I think that's in the show enough, too.
That too.
And then I did put in all caps, why does he have her diary?
I also wrote in all caps, he read her diary.
That is not something you do.
Nope.
I loved the irony of the genie giving her the mirror, and
Mhm.
that's where he ended up.
Well, he said that he's granted 1,001 wishes, which is a reference to
Mhm.
1,001 Nights. And he's seen them end poorly 1,001 times. So like he'll never use this wish, and he uses the wish, and it backfires in the most spectacular way of I wish to never leave your side. He's just been
Mhm.
freed from phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty living space to a new itty bitty living space. And we do actually get to see the world behind the mirror
Ooh, that's exciting.
in many, many years. We do get to see it.
Okay. Uh
Sorry.
you're fine. I wrote, we have 6 minutes. Let's hope the printer is fast enough. I laughed so much during that because as a homeschooling mom, I have my own printer. I use it constantly. It never works right.
No, it never does. The printers will always backfire on you. Emma's hard disk recovery unit is another like Deus ex machina. Like when there's no software that any human being could have that could reveal these kinds of hidden deleted files that quickly.
Not a one.
No,
Not a one.
not how that works.
And of course, later down, I was like, "Oh my, Emma is really insulting her in front of everyone."
Yeah,
Like that was rough.
she went for it.
I was like, "Shut up, Emma! Shut up!"
I mean, if she was right, how epic that would have been. To be fair, Regina probably shouldn't be taking city funds to build a playground. She probably should. I mean, I know she probably wanted to speed up the process because obviously it gets built very quickly. But
Oh yeah.
maybe go through the proper channels before you build a playground, because quite frankly, if the one major playground has been demolished, you can probably get like town council approval, board like zoning board approval, whatever, to build a new playground.
It makes me kind of anxious and like curious of what else she could be hiding by doing this and speeding it along. I'm like, because you never know what Regina's
Mhm.
hiding. Because like when Emma pulls up the keys, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, the skeleton keys are cool. Those will come back in later. In the case of the playground, she genuinely is just building a playground.
That makes me actually really happy because we have so many discussions about how much she loves Henry, and I'm
Hmm.
like, thank goodness. I don't have to speculate.
I know, and I love that it's designed after her castle.
I Oh yeah.
It's designed after her castle specifically.
I didn't know it was her castle specifically. I just knew it was from the book.
Yeah, like it's the same design as the castle that we see in that episode. That eventually, like, there are a couple palaces get mentioned. Snow mentions the Summer Palace a lot, but in one point she literally mentions that Regina is traveling to the Summer Palace, but it's snowing. So I always have that question of why is she going to the Summer Palace in the winter? But once, the world kind of figures itself out and you've got Snow and Charming and Regina, the palace that's like the kind of cone looking thing where her apple tree
Mhm.
is, that will become, while it starts as Leopold's castle, obviously, that will become her castle. She takes it over.
Okay. And then I wrote in all caps, "What, the writer stole it."
Oh yeah, the stranger. I was gonna say his name, but I don't want to say his name yet.
Yeah, don't say I don't know it yet.
No, I think you learn his name in 2 episodes.
Good. I'm ready for the next two because Skin Deep, I know what it is,
Yeah.
and I want to know what happened to
You
Frederick.
get to learn what happened to Frederick.
It's taking forever.
And you get to learn the
Um,
stranger's name.
and my you ready for my you ready for my last note?
Tell me.
Please don't call it a Honeycrisp apple again.
I know, we're so traumatized by that.
It's a red delicious, okay? Just say it.
They are red delicious apples.
All right. Told you I took a lot of notes.
No, I know. I'm so happy. I love it. That's why I didn't want to interrupt you too much because I wanted to hear them.
Oh, wait for the next one. Next one's Beauty and Beast, man.
That's one that has audio and commentary. So I'll get to listen to that one and give you some more information. That one is with Robert Carlyle and Jane Espenson, which I am very excited. I haven't listened to that one in a while, so I am very excited to hear that and to have lots and lots of fun notes for you because I'm sure they'll have plenty. Especially since one of the
Mm-hmm.
commentary people is the writer of the episode, and us being writers and book people, it's gonna be great.
Yes. I mean, it's completely based off my favorite fairy
Yeah,
tale.
and it's your favorite fairy tale,
It's
exactly.
my favorite fairy tale. Like, I used to watch the cartoon in
Hmm.
French.
There you go. I also took quite a few notes of this one because I really enjoyed this episode. I like Regina backstory to begin with, and I've got quite a few rants
Mhm.
planned. But I'll go through my notes first, and then I've got some fun facts because this is okay. But did you know? So of course we have fun facts
Always.
always. Um, so at the very beginning, I've got my case of blooper brain rot in the scene when Sydney walks over to Emma in the diner. Especially with that opening line of "You want a side of bacon with that whiskey," which I just thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
then
hilarious.
then he's like, when he pulls out the card, all I see when he pulls out his business card, although I did notice in different frames his hand is underneath the card or on top of the card. This is the stupid stuff that I pay attention to. But the blooper of that was, I guess he couldn't find it or he had a hard time getting it out of his jacket pocket. So he's just fumbling and then he just goes, "If I had a card, I'd give you one." Like he's just like playing it off. He's like just kind of staying with the drunk thing. But it's just stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
There's no other way to explain this. We had a little bit more of all magic comes with a price. Just through every vein, they possibly just beat this into us. Again, with the destruction of the playground of the castle, I wrote down, "I'll admit, while I agree that safety is more important, there are better ways to handle destroying your son's favorite space than by grabbing a bulldozer."
Yeah, I agree with that.
There are, like some, I don't know, there are better ways of going about that. Like, I'm not against Regina's stance of like that Emma that from her perspective, Emma's not concerned with Henry's safety just for ways around her. I understand the perspective, but there are more delicate ways to handle this.
Like, communication would be great.
Just talking, if anything.
Just talk.
Something that made me laugh was when they're working on trying to find the files, and Mary Margaret walks in before she does her whole thing about like if it's the right thing to do, even if it's bad, you should that justifies it. But her thing of
Mm-hmm.
like when they say that they're looking for a way to take down Regina, she goes, "Interesting work. Oh, I approve." Like,
Right?
I love sassy Mary Margaret. It makes me so happy.
She has plenty reason to not be happy with Regina with everything going on
Hmm.
with with charming.
Yeah,
Because I can remember, I'm never gonna remember what his name is in each one.
that's fine.
Uh, because I mean, Regina hasn't exactly been the nicest towards Mary Margaret with all of it.
In general,
But then at the
yeah.
same time, I understand why Regina's not being super nice about it.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
I love that now she's getting a little bit bolder because we'll see like some flashbacks of Storybrooke before Henry comes in. So we'll see like the beginning of the curse eventually. And Mary Margaret, as she is now in season 1, is very different from how she was for the first 28 years of the curse. So we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing bits of Snow White kind of coming in now that David is awake, now that Emma's here and things are moving forward. And even like now that David's awake and the affair is happening, we'll see over the next couple of episodes even a greater shift in Mary Margaret as well, which I just love to see that like see like that character progression of kind of starting out as kind of like this meek person that's kind of walking around with like one shoulder kind of like not really wanting to be perceived, to now kind of being this kind of sassy person, which I just really appreciate.
Oh yeah.
So I did write down in our notes to talk a little bit about timing of things and geography in Storybrooke. More so than normal this time around, I've noticed some markers of how the show or how the Storybrooke arc has been progressing. Because they do give us some time markers that do not add up. In this episode specifically, because if we're operating under the assumption that the writers have given us that they've kind of confirmed that Emma's birthday is October 22nd, I think is what we've determined, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the day of the premiere. By my best guess, we are probably 7 to 8 weeks, maybe less, out from then. However, so that would put us, so at end of October, this would put us into December, end of December ish.
Mm-hmm.
They make a point of showing us like fall foliage a lot in this episode. Like a lot of like the trees outside of town hall are very much like this is fall foliage about to fall down. That would make it more early fall. So that's incorrect. But the next episode is a Valentine's Day episode. And the thing that that is why I'm coming up with this like 7 weeks or so is we know that it was 2 weeks between the Heart of the Lonely Hunter and Desperate Souls because Mr. Gold says to Emma that after 2 weeks the promotion from deputy to sheriff is automatic. And then in
Mm-hmm.
True North, Emma says that she had been there for a month when she talks to the guy at the garage. She's been there a month by True North, and 2 weeks of that is a time we don't see. So there was probably only about 2 weeks between the pilot and Heart is the Only Hunter,
Oh
roughly.
my.
But Regina has a line in this episode, and this is one of the few lines that I wrote down. I don't have this one memorized. I did write this one down. I have another one in a bit. um, that Regina says, if they're missing, then I probably check them out in regards to the missing files. If they're missing, then I probably checked them out, as my job often requires me to. And if they were checked out 3 weeks ago, well, that means they burned in a fire. In a fire that I recall got you elected sheriff. So there's 3 weeks between Desperate Souls and Fruit of the Poisonous Tree. And there's 3 episodes in that time. So that fits. But like that means it's like it's not a whole lot of time between when she gets there and right now. It's probably mid December if we're operating under her birthday being the end of October. So that means that there's like 6 weeks between this episode and the next one. Honestly, at this point, I'm just choosing to ignore this. The timing of it does not
They
add up.
they took a holiday break.
Well, they did, yeah, they took a holiday break, but it's the not paying attention to things. This is also why I like to remind people when they talk about certain things about the show in its entirety. It spans 6 seasons. Like the first, the main arc, the main arc with
Mm-hmm.
these characters spans the first 6 seasons, and they change things in season 7. But that main arc is not 6 years, despite the fact that Jared Gilmore, because he's a kid, he's 6 years older. It's much more prevalent with him. So he's 16,
Mm-hmm.
17 by the end of the run. Henry isn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there will be some time jumps to kind of help us move forward a little bit, but like it's not every week is not, or every episode isn't, a new week. Some things are happening right after the other. It gets to be a bit confusing if you look at it too closely, like I do.
That is a really fast time to become sheriff. of a new town.
Yep.
That's going to mess with my brain for
Yeah.
a little while.
Again, it's the kind of things of if you start putting real world logic on this, it really does tend to disintegrate really quickly.
And as the person that's in charge of the Bob's episodes, you would think that I wouldn't put too much real world on anything. But what do I do? Constantly.
Yeah. That's the thing with like even the Storybrooke stuff. Like I understand, especially in the first season, because it's very much the fantasy and the real world aspect of it are very separate. So it's easy to kind of forget that even in the Storybrooke stuff, there is still a fantasy element to it, and therefore our suspension of disbelief should truthfully be just as high.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, while I am thinking about it, I'm like trying to figure out what we're doing here. I'm like, this isn't adding up. We're going to ignore this. And I reject your canon and substitute my own. In the same vein of distance in Storybrooke and the size of Storybrooke. Another line that I wrote this one down. I don't know why I don't have this one
Okay.
memorized because it's funny, but I wrote it down. It's Emma's line about how they have 6 minutes. Emma breaks window. Who does the alarm system alert? The police. I'm the police. 2 minutes for her to get a call from the alarm company, 1 minute to get her code and keys, 3 minutes to drive here. We got maybe 6 minutes. There's 3 minutes for her, so 3 minutes for her to drive from her house to, town hall. I gave this a rough estimate of it being, 25 miles per hour on local roads, which means it's about a mile and a quarter from her house to the office. This town is likely 2 miles at most in radius, so I ask again, why is there a school bus?
They wanted to make the kids happy?
I mean, like, legally they're required to, I don't know, but this town isn't big enough.
These kids could literally walk to school.
They really, and Henry does on a number of occasions.
And I will say, like, as a mother of small children, I used to drive when my kid did go to public school. I used to drive and pick her up. We lived so close to the school. Like, and when they're that little, it makes me nervous to put them on a bus.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you don't know what's happening, and they're so little. They're like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And you got like 5th graders on the bus. You don't want your 5-year-old with, a kid starting to go through puberty.
Yeah.
So
No.
I have the question too, but it's I guess the sense of community.
I suppose, or just it's naturally expected of a town to have a school bus system, so they have to.
Here's your answer. It's the curse.
Because magic.
The magic said there had to be a school bus.
Exactly. The genie's line of "What if the king didn't live?" Oh, how could you possibly come up with this plan that I totally didn't have already? But with that, I did also write this down, and I do wonder how Regina got Henry to do this with the box and the genie, like Henry Senior, I should say.
I was so confused for a second because I'm like, I don't think Sydney knew about the box that Henry had.
Yeah, no, not that one. So I realized that was hard to say. So it makes me wonder in the fairy tale land section with the genie, how Regina got her father to bring the box out and convince the genie to bring it to her, because there's no way she could do that without telling him what was in it. But he would likely never condone her attempting to unalive herself, nor would he really condone her trying to do that to the king. I understand he probably wants her to be free, but I don't really see him condoning that.
He was kind of around while she was figuring out the curse itself, so
He was.
does that give us an inkling of like how? Because he of course didn't want her to do it, but he was like checking in to see how things were going. So maybe he's also slightly corrupt.
No, he's not. I can promise you. Henry
Oh,
really,
well,
he really does want her to kind of find the light and find, ways to be happy that don't involve revenge. He tries. He's not very forceful, but he tries.
maybe she's just that good of a liar.
That, or it's just she's just got him wrapped around her finger, honestly.
I mean, would you be surprised?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I have so much I want to say about this man, but I can't yet.
I'm so excited.
Soon. The episode that I have more about him soon, but there's one I won't tell you. This is just very indicative of his character. I won't tell you who says this to him or when this comes up, but he's very confused by someone entering a room, and their response is, "Yes, hello, get out, Henry," and he just walks away.
Oh my god!
He's just
this poor man.
he tries. He tries. Not that hard though. So one of my last notes before I can go into other rants about various other topics. Um,
I'm here for it.
I know the town hall scene. So I did try to find this. I tried for a long time, and I had some friends helping me also. We couldn't find this. During the filming of that scene, Lana was drawing and doodling on her little legal pad that she had the whole time. She drew out like just the people in front of her. She had like doodles of everything and was writing notes in the margin the whole time. I've seen the picture somewhere, but I do not know. I can't find it anymore. It's not that it's been
Mhm.
scrubbed from the internet, but just so much gets posted, and
Yeah.
looking up Lana Parrilla drawing or something along the lines of sketch with this episode is not very helpful because people draw her very frequently. So you look up Lana Parrilla drawing, you're getting a drawing of her that she did not do.
So when we publish this, if anybody who hears this has this photo,
If anyone has this saved somewhere on a file on their computer somewhere, please send it to us so we can share it because it's a very cool drawing. I really wish I knew where the picture, like where the picture got
yeah, just
released.
DM us on Instagram.
Yeah, and please, because Lauren wants to find this again.
And I really want to see it now because you've been talking about it for a week.
I know,
So I would really love to see it.
I know. But I couldn't find that. But I do actually have a little bit of a fun fact from the filming of that. And I got this from the wiki, and I went back and looked at the scene. And I'm like, oh my god, you can. Very, very briefly, when Regina bangs the gavel, you can see her tattoo. Lana has a wrist tattoo. Regina does
Ooh.
not. As opposed to Jennifer Morrison and Emma, who Emma has a wrist tattoo, but Jennifer Morrison does not. They have to add hers in post production. Lana has a feather on the inside of her, I believe it's her right wrist. Um,
Oh, that's cool.
it's a very cool tattoo, and it's become a symbol amongst the evil Regals. A lot of people have them. It's a tattoo. It's a reminder of hope for her because she said that when she was living in LA and kind of having a hard time, she was like really like down, like thinking like, is this for me? Do I need to do something else? She's like, she kind of like called out into the universe, like, send me a sign, like, am I here? Am I doing the right thing? And she saw a feather kind of dancing in the wind. And then following that, many times that she's kind of been in situations where she's felt very low, she's always seen a feather somewhere, and it's kind of coined the phrase amongst the evil Regals. The thing that she said along with this is, "You are where you need to be. Take a deep breath," which I think is just very nice.
Oh, I like that.
But yeah,
Which is funny because I have birds tattooed on me.
mm,
Mine are Hugin and Munin though.
okay. I have a very faded Tree of Life henna tattoo that is definitely gonna rub off the next time I take a shower.
Oh, no permanent tattoos?
No, not yet. I don't have any.
I have 4 and I'm getting 5 and 6 in January.
Nice. So we've been talking about Leopold on and off throughout the episode, and again, now I kind of almost want to watch the episode again to see if his name actually gets mentioned.
Like, just throw it on in the background and just only listen for his name.
Just listen for his name, yeah. Leopold is played by Richard Schiff, who is an actor. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's been in the game a very long time. My guess
Mhm.
is the two roles people would most likely know him from. He was Toby Ziegler. I don't know how to say the character's name, from The West Wing.
Never seen it.
Okay. He's also Aaron Glassman in The Good Doctor currently, which I think is it's on ABC or CBS. I'm not sure which one.
I haven't watched that either.
That's totally fine. That's what other people would know him from.
Yeah.
But through looking through his IMDb, I didn't really occur to me because again, with the fandom thing I was saying before, I forget,
Mhm.
how much people are actually involved in the show because in my mind, they take up much more space. So he's Leopold. So Richard Schiff is only credited in 2 episodes of Once Upon a Time, which for me, I now know that Leopold is actually only the character of Leopold is only in 3 episodes.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, he's only in 3 episodes for being kind of a pertinent character in the story. He's only in 3 episodes.
He's Snow White's dad.
He is Snow White's dad. I want to say in an episode in season 2, we see someone who's supposed to be him. My guess is they just didn't get him. For him just kind of being off in the background, they didn't actually need to bring him back. They just probably got a stand-in or someone that looks roughly his size, put him in the costume and the wig, and he's good to go. But it never really occurred to me because in the RP fandom, I mean, people tended to latch onto characters that were not in a whole lot of episodes, but they're very, very plot relevant. So I tend to forget kind of what's the fandom and what is actually, I guess, what was actually in the show. because people have asked me about my fan fiction that involves Leopold, and I will say I have written Leopold Regina fan fiction that is not the healthiest. It's not a healthy relationship. I mean, we see in this episode, it's not the healthiest relationship, but
Now I'm
it's
questioning if I'm ever gonna read your fan fiction.
nope, never.
Never. Cool. I'm okay with this.
Not this stuff, at least.
No, it's okay. I've never read fan fiction.
Yeah, no, this isn't where I would start you.
Oh God.
But like with this, like with the forgetting how much is, real, like in my mind, I've got this big long backstory for them, right? Or like all these other things. I also have a little more context when it comes to Leopold and his story. Because I've seen the whole show. So I kind of know a little bit more. But the part of like the backstory of like the neglect and everything, and I'm just like, because it in my mind, it's just he's not a good person. That's about as much as I feel comfortable saying on the podcast.
That's fair.
So, because I don't know if I've done the math correctly, but I think I have. Regina, also, this is also the first time my brain just went three different places. I'll finish my thought in a second. This is the first time it's confirmed that Regina is her name in the Enchanted Forest. She's just been the queen the entire time, or the evil queen the entire time. But this is the first time that Leopold says, "This is my wife, Regina the Queen." So now we know that Regina is her name. But by my count, if I am correct in the way things work, which I think I am, Regina would technically be 26 right now.
Okay.
It's not stated in the show, however, based off of the novelizations, this is the best way we can figure out aging. Regina marries Leopold when she's 18.
Oh no.
And Snow is 10. Yeah. It's not great.
Don't like that.
No, it's not great.
Okay then.
That also makes the line that Maleficent says in the second episode of isn't she the same age you were when you were to be married before she ruined it all? Yes, you were. Snow cannot be 18 in the pilot and in the second episode. It's not possible.
Because that would make Regina a different age.
Well,
right?
No, because the thing is, Snow, Charming, and Emma are all supposed to be roughly the same age. That's kind of the idea. So
weird.
So Emma is 28. So that means that Mary Margaret is 28 when the curse, or Snow's 28 when the curse hits. We'll find this out in a while. This isn't necessarily a spoiler. It's a timeline marker. Snow gets pregnant on their honeymoon.
Math isn't mathing.
Math isn't mathing. Snow can't be 18 when they get married, so she can't be the same age Regina was when she got married.
Now my brain hurts.
I know. I realize the scene with Maleficent is one of those scenes that I have memorized that I didn't actually recite for you. I just listed like the one line that I thought was funny.
How dare you?
How dare I? I'm so sorry. But it has the really funny line of, well, it's her wedding night. I doubt she's suffering right now.
I would hope not.
So do you want to go into some stats and then I can do my last little rant afterwards?
Yes. So, character 8 for me.
Mm-hmm.
As my personal is a 9. And my plot is a 10 because the plot was phenomenal.
Very nice.
Like I took a million notes, so obviously I enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
And so my total's a 27.
Okay. I realized I said my last rant. I actually have a fun fact and then also a rant after my notes.
Oh my.
I'm so sorry.
I volunteer to do this.
That you did. So my score is very, very close to yours. The only difference I gave it an 8 for character, I gave it a 9 for personal, and I gave it a 9 for plot. So I gave it a 26 instead of a 27. We were very, very close. We were so close. It does lose plot markers just because of the abusiveness of Leopold's relationship and how he treats her. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah. I didn't think about that when I
which is fine.
Scored mine.
It's a great episode. It's very, kind of A plot focused. It's moving the story of it's both backstory so we understand more, but it's also moving that plot kind of forward as well.
I like getting both.
Yeah, and it's a lot of plot in the Storybrooke arc as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we do see a lot of that. Something that the fun fact that I wanted to mention before is the technology in Storybrooke, because it kind of plays into the curse and everything. Because we see an up close image of Mary Margaret's cell phone, which is a very old cell phone. Like it's likely I haven't looked up the model of it, But I think it's like from the 90s. We're now in this point in 2011, 2012, what have you. Something that's actually a feature of the curse. Technology does update. However, they do kind of it's a little behind the times. It's a little outdated.
Gotcha. I'm trying to remember what kind of phone I had in 2011.
Let's see, in 2011, I think by then I'm trying to think what grade was I in. So I think I had like the Envy, like the one that like you'd open it to the side and you'd have the keyboard that way.
Oh, I remember
I had one of
those.
those.
Those were cool.
They were cool. But hers is like like the Nokia, like the phone, like that the screen is
Yep.
green. It's not doing anything else but like apparently sending text messages, but also like probably very badly. But also, basically you're just using that for phone calls. You're not doing that for anything else. Storybrick does have advances in technology. It just takes them a while. Eventually, you'll see the computer in the sheriff station. It's running like Windows 95.
Oh my god.
It's the gray Macintosh, or so it's not running Windows, but it's whatever it's running. It's like that era of like those before like the iMacs. Like that's the era that it was.
I
So
remember using those too.
as do I.
This show's making me feel old now.
Yeah, but I mean it's all outdated. Everything kind of feels a little outdated
Yeah.
but timeless with the way they also do that with the clothing as well, which is always kind of a fun thing to kind of notice.
I like the
Yeah, I
clothing.
like the clothing too. Um, my very last thing before I leave us off is a little rant on because I will bring this up. I brought this up before. I'll bring it up again because this is one of the things that I pay attention to is Lana's use of voice when it comes to Regina,
Yes.
because over the course of the episode, especially in the Fairy Tale Land arc, her voice changes very dramatically, but also like from beginning to end. But over the course of it, it's there's very subtle
Mhm.
changes as we go. I would say the voice that she uses for the Queen is probably closer to her natural tone speaking voice, because I would even counter that the Regina Mills voice is a little deeper than the way she normally speaks. So I like just watching that trajectory, and I wrote down a couple times like her voice is deepening, like as like she's saying things, like even throughout the spiel where she's like telling the genie like here's your passage out of here. They know that the snake is from your homeland, so you got to go. Her voice gets deeper throughout that whole conversation,
Mhm.
kind of showing us
It's really
again.
cool.
She's so good with it, and then at the like even like this voice is like it's similar to like kind of what we heard at the beginning of The Heart is Lonely Hunter in the funeral scene, and then at the very end it just like her voice just drops. I wrote down, and there's the evil queen voice at the very end, and that's the voice that we kind of like associate with her, is like that deep raspy kind of voice, and I'm just like, this woman is so good.
It's extremely impressive.
She's so good with voices, and I love clocking that, especially we'll see, like I said, we'll see a flashback that's forthcoming, where she's even younger. And I love hearing the juxtaposition of her voice when she uses it in other episodes. I was thinking of two different episodes in that time period, in that one thought. My brain's all over the place. Um,
That's okay.
yeah, there will be a day when there's a juxtaposition of like the young Regina voice, but with evil queenie kind of words and actions, and it's such a cool juxtaposition to kind of show us where she's at in her evil queen journey, and I just think that's very cool. And I strive for that level of talent when it comes to like vocal control and like vocal intonation.
You do a very good job, I will say.
Well, thank you, darling.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 2, Episode 7, Moody Foodie, and Season 2, Episode 8, Bad Tina. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. And follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok.
This has been an episode of Okay, but Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.